Today on our 2005 Jeep Grand Cherokee, we're going to be taking a look at and showing you how to install the Roadmaster Brake-Lite Relay Kit for towed vehicles, part number RM-88400. This is what your Brake-Lite Relay Kit is going to look like when you get it. What this is going to do is when your vehicle is being towed and your key is in the off position, this is going to allow the signal coming from your RV to work in your towed vehicle. And what I mean by that is, if you didn't have the relay and you just ran the wire from or the signal from your RV to your towed vehicle or Jeep, and you had a brake system, when it applies the brakes, the brake lights are going to come on in the towed vehicle. If you have the left blinker on in your RV while the brakes are being pressed in the towed vehicle, the brake signal is going to override that blinker and it's not going to blink. That's what this is going to do. It's going to, with the key off, this is going to shut off that signal and allow the signal coming from the RV to transfer through to the towed vehicle or your Jeep. So to explain the wires we have here, your red wire is going to be fused and it's going to go into your fuse panel. Your green wire and black wire are going to connect into your brake light switch wire. Your white wire is going to be ground, and your blue wire is only going to be used if you have a push button start. Since we don't have a push button start, we're just going to eliminate that wire. Like that. And your kit's also going to come with a few additional parts. This is going to be fuse tap that we're going to tie into our red wire and then into our fuse panel. And then a few butt connectors and a self-tapping screw for your ground wire, and along with the ring terminal that's also going to be for your ground wire. First thing we need to do is gain access to our brake light switch, which is up on the arm on a bracket right up inside on the back side by the firewall. So what we need to do is we're going to have two Phillips screws, one here and one here, to remove this panel on the bottom. Pull this out, we'll set this aside. And then this panel right here is attached. If we pull from the top here out, it'll just fold down. This is going to be our switch right here. We're looking for this gray side. You can see the wires coming out of the top of it. Now we need to test to determine which wire we're going to be using. Now, we have tested and predetermined that if you notice that white wire back there, you can't see it, but it has a tan stripe on it. Those wires actually run right back this way and right down here. So what we're going to do is we're going to cut off some of the insulation, see if we can't separate that wire a little bit from the rest of them. We're going to go ahead and test it again to make sure that that's our wire we're going to be using. So what I've found is that our wires have a little fastener that is holding it onto this bracket. You can use a flathead screwdriver or a little tool like this, a little fork tool. We'll go ahead and pop that fastener off. It'll give us some extra room to work on our wire. So what we're looking for is this white wire with the that tan stripe right there. And strip back some of this insulation here. Or in this case, it's just some electrical tape. So what we're looking for when we test it, when we put on our light, it's off. We only want this to come on when we apply the brake. And that's what we're looking for right there. So now we know we have the correct wire. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to cut our wire. That. Then we're going to strip back both ends. We're going to take a blue butt connector that's in our kit, and we're going to add one to each side. So you want it to look like that. So now we're going to attach our black and our green wire, one to each side. Our black wire is going to go towards our light. Our green wire is going to go towards our switch, or the wire that's closest to our switch. So we'll hook up our black wire first. Again, we want the wire that's going to the lights. And then our green wire we're going to hook up to the other side. If you have a braking system that has an indicator light, this is where you're going to want to install that light or that wire. And you're going to want to install it on the switch side, or the wire that's closest to the switch. I'm actually going to go ahead and take these, go ahead and put my fasteners back in place to hold my wires. Now we'll go ahead and add our ring terminal to our white wire. And our kit comes with self-tapping screws, I mentioned earlier. You want to make sure you put it in a metal surface, unless you can find a existing screw or bolt that you can put it on. This frame right here is actually goes right up to, it's welded on the frame of the vehicle. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take out this corner screw right here and see if I can't get that to fit on there. Take our red wire, cut off some of that excess there. So now what we need to do is we need to test to find out what fuse is hot when the key is in the on position and what fuse is turned off. So what we're looking for is the light activated when the key is not in the ignition. So we'll try this one right here. It's 15 amp fuse. And you can see our lights coming on. We don't have the key in the ignition. So that is not one we're looking for. This one right here next to it, you see we're not getting anything on either side. Put the key in the off position. So now we'll put the key in and we'll test that again to make sure that that fuse is hot once the key is in the on position. So now we're getting power. I'm going to look at the owner's manual to make sure that this fuse isn't for airbags. So I don't want to remove that if it's for airbags, or we're not going to use it. If it's not for airbags, that's the fuse we're going to be tapping into. I'm going to go ahead and connect our fuse tap. Buck connector is already going to be installed on it, so we just need to connect it to our red wire. And then what I'm going to do, I'm going to take a few zip ties, zip tie this guy right here. I will say the zip ties that come in this kit are pretty small. You're going to make it a little bit easier on yourself, maybe pick up some longer ones. And then my green and my black wire that I have attached up there, I want to make sure, because my steering column rotates, I'm actually going to zip tie it to the same wire that I attach it to, but I'm going to attach it to the wire loom that's up on top here. My green and my black wire, I just zip tied it right there on that wire loom. That keeps them away from my steering column. I routed my wet wire right over the top. Go ahead and take some needle nose pliers and pull this fuse. Where we want to put this fuse, this is going to be going into the fuse panel. We want our fuse that we just took out on the bottom or closest to our fuse panel. And then our 10 amp fuse that comes in our kit will go on the top, just like that. We can go ahead and insert this back into that location. Push it into place. Now we'll put our panels back in place, test it out to make sure everything's working correctly. Now we'll test it out using an alternate power source, simulating being hooked up to our RV. We'll turn the blinker on in our RV, which you can see it's showing through our towed vehicle. Now we'll apply the brake in the towed vehicle, simulating having a braking system applying the brakes. What we want to see, we want to make sure that our blinker is still blinking and that our brake light in our towed vehicle is not overriding that signal. As you can see, our turn signal is still on. Our braking system is applying the brake in our towed vehicle and it's not overriding it. So we're hooked up correctly. And that'll do it for a look at and installation on the Roadmaster Brake-Lite Relay Kit for towed vehicles, part number RM-88400 on our 2005 Jeep Grand Cherokee.